What is that? A new Nintendo Switch? Don't we mean the Nintendo Switch Pro? Well, it could be or could be not. What's up guys, HMK here once again with another video specifically on the Nintendo Switch, and that we could get a follow-up system outside of the original Switch and the Switch Lite. Now of course this news or reports or leaks broke out a couple of days ago, but I didn't want to make a video because one, I was really tired, and two, the YouTube algorithm kind of sucks. So we're going to be breaking down and give my piece on what I think could happen when it comes to the Nintendo Switch Plus, Pro, Darkness, new Nintendo Switch, whatever, because this report really doesn't want to call it a Nintendo Switch Pro, but for the case in point, we're just going to call it the Nintendo Switch Pro anyways. And this is not some sort of like hanky-panky leak that has come out of 4chan or Reset Era or anything like that. This comes from a reputable source known as Bloomberg, which they love to talk about tech updates and whatnot, all things gaming, computer, and anything under the sun when it comes to stocks relating to these big companies or whatnot. Bloomberg, yeah. So when it comes to their report, they have to have some sort of, credibility on the line, and it's not like they're gonna, mess around and fuck around with their credibility just to talk about some hanky-panky leaks or whatever. And they did talk about the Nintendo Switch Pro, or the updated Nintendo Switch model, the next Nintendo Switch, not too long ago, well, a couple of months ago. So their story still seems kind of straight when it comes to them saying that it's going to release sometime towards the end of the year, 2021, before Christmas holiday season, which makes a lot of sense when you think about, the business tactics of what Nintendo could want to do and whatnot. But we have some details about the Nintendo Switch Pro that goes along with what a lot of people would like to see when it comes to what a Pro can do or a Plus can do or whatnot. And specifically, this report likes to focus a lot on the screen, the handheld screen, because apparently this is still going to have a handheld screen aside from what other people have been saying, that the Nintendo Switch Pro could have been something that is just console only. No, apparently this next Nintendo Switch is still going to have an undocked handheld mode. However, this will have a new screen that is not LCD, that's not liquid crystal display. It's going to be OLED instead of LCD. And when compared to the Nintendo Switch, the big boy that we got so far, which is about 6.6 inches long, and the Nintendo Switch Lite, which is about 5.5 inches long, around that ballpark, this next Nintendo Switch is going to be 7 inches long in terms of the screen and whatnot, and still going to be 720p for the OLED screen. And that apparently these screens is going to be provided by Samsung. And Bloomberg had their, they have their contacts and stuff, and they went straight to Nintendo and Samsung for the word on the street if this is gonna happen, and they declined to comment. Usually they give a comment when something's going down, or like, we have no plans to announce the next Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch follow-up. They just straight up no comment or anything like that. So that's kind of fishy. And apparently mass production of these screens are going to start in June of this year, and it's gonna be, they're gonna have like about 1 million units by the time that's done, after a month, to send to the assembly line in order to create these new Nintendo Switches, probably by the end of July and whatnot. But I'm pretty sure that, like, if this is the plan, there could be dev kits and there could be, display models, demo models that are ready in, the hands of Nintendo and whatnot, in order to, like, want to put these together. And it's like, all right, Samsung, that's the wave. Apparently, the Switch will also come with 4K dock support. This new Nintendo Switch is going to come with 4K dock support, and that's going to be very interesting, because I want to see what Nintendo or what developers are going to do with a Switch like this, with a new Nintendo Switch that's going to be 4K capable. I mean, it's coming to the time that more and more people have 4K TVs. I have one right here. The one that my main TV right now is 4K, and then I got it on a deal. I got it for like under $1,000 or whatnot. So we're finally entering the age where 4K is a lot more accessible than it was, let's say, a year or two ago or 3 years ago or whatnot. So it seems that Nintendo's finally catching up on the ball to try and get into 4K displays. But I mean, what are they gonna plan to do? Are they gonna upscale like existing games in order for it to look cleaner on 4K? Because a lot of games that Nintendo already has they, on the Nintendo Switch at least, are usually 720p, 60 frames per second. Some games are actually 1080p, but they're upscaled 1080p. I'm pretty sure the one game that actually is native 1080p at this point, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, is Luigi's Mansion 3, and that game is pretty scrumptious. To see other games in 4K is going to be interesting, because Breath of the Wild, that is 900p. So I mean, like, it couldn't even reach 1080p. And if I want to play Breath of the Wild on this next Nintendo Switch, 4K capable, okay, all right, let's see what they got. And this along could go with the reasoning why Nintendo hasn't talked or shown Breath of the Wild 2 beyond that of the 2019 trailer, because, you know, Aonuma says, oh, we don't have anything ready to show you. We don't have anything ready to show you. So it could be possible that their hands are tied because they want to wait for Nintendo to announce this next Nintendo Switch Pro, with a longer screen and 4K support, and it's gonna be grand, and it's gonna be good, and it's gonna be awesome. And then here's what you can do with this new Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild 2. So maybe, possibly, we can have an announcement imminent around, you know, I would say June time, E3 time, you know, the good summer of gaming or whatnot. And then that will get a lot of people on the boat to try and pre-order this console, so that, you know, Nintendo will get a keen understanding of the demand of a console like this, as the first lineup of production is going to be underway around the same time. So they start with like a base amount of around 1 million units when it comes to the screens from Samsung or whatnot. They get that number, right? And they're like, okay, this is gonna be like our, you know, our fodder number, you know, like whatever, if people are in demand or not, it'll still be on the shelves and we'll sell it. And then when the pre-order starts around that time, Nintendo will get a keener number that may go beyond that of 1 million or below that 1 million when it comes to all of the regions. And, you know, thinking about how they're gonna have a non-region locked system with 1 million units off the bat being assembled around July. Of course, if this is gonna really be in demand, they're gonna have to ramp up production if they truly want to satisfy the people around holiday season, especially what's going on with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I literally tried to get a PS5 today, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. So maybe Nintendo will use that to their advantage when it comes to targeting other people's disposable income, especially with a game like Breath of the Wild 2 announced to be attached to something like that. That'll be a really good strategy for them. So 4K support, 7-inch screen, OLED, and apparently the OLED screen is going to take up less battery, and it's gonna have a bigger battery life. Beyond that, you know, it's a lot. You know, there's a lot of, I would say, noise around the other specs and chips when it comes to anything that can go beyond that of the original Nintendo Switch, because it's using a variant of the Tegra, the NVIDIA Tegra chip currently and whatnot. And if they're gonna be messing around with any type of 4K support, then you would think they would have to, like, you know, upgrade the big guns within the little machine that could. And I really doubt that if this screen is gonna be 7 inches, then it's not gonna fit properly on a regular Nintendo Switch dock. Now, I'm sure that it's gonna use USB Type-C like the Switch does, so like it can fit, sure, but it's gonna look kind of honky, since like the screens are gonna be like this outside of the dock, and then that could lead to smudging, that could lead to dust buildup and whatnot. And I really doubt Nintendo's gonna want to, like, hey man, take this new Nintendo Switch, if you're gonna buy just that, and plug it into the old dock and it'll still work. I mean, maybe it could, but to me, I feel it just look really, really awky. And they're probably going to have another dock, a 4K support dock, in order to get 4K ready for your screens. But the one thing that really is weirding me out is that, you know, how they're going to tackle game development moving forward when it comes to their own studios and other studios. I mean, other studios are already messing around with 4K and whatnot, but are they going to upscale their original games, and how's that going to look? Because of course there is a bunch of different techniques and stuff. I used to work in LG, and then, you know, the LG technique is, you know, they try to splice up the image by, you know, I would say quadrupling the pixel count for each image shading, and then they just splice it all together back onto the screen. And for the most part, it looks pretty good. But is Nintendo gonna follow that strategy? I mean, that's what LG TVs did. I don't know what they're gonna do with like Samsung you know, well, of course, you know, any TV. This is, it's funny because the TV right now is Samsung. So, I mean, you know, like the new Samsung panels are going to be on the Nintendo Switch Pro or Plus. We're just going to have to wait and see. And hopefully we could get an announcement very soon, because there's another report floating around that there could be Nintendo Switch Pro exclusive games. And Nintendo, I thought we learned this lesson already, because that is, I mean, I understand that you want to have a game fully fleshed out and use the biggest amount of power to its disposal. So I mean, like, okay, this game is built specifically for this new version of Switch, and sometimes that works. For the most part, I don't think it does, because that limits people's consumption, and people are like, damn, I have to buy a whole other console in order to play this one game. So we'll have to see if that report is going to be true or not. But if this is true from Bloomberg, and I tend to believe them, then I feel that a announcement is imminent around June, around, you know, E3 time, maybe even May or whatnot. It's going to be tied, I feel it's going to be tied together with that Breath of the Wild 2 blowout that we have been promised by IGN Aonuma, because they're literally just twiddling their thumbs. I'm like, yo, I'm pretty sure behind the scenes it could have been like, we had stuff to show you for a long time. It's just that Nintendo said no, not yet, until the Pro, you know, was ready to go. So I feel that an announcement is going to be very, very soon if we're going to go by the heels of this. But I want to know what you guys think specifically on the information that Bloomberg has provided us, because I'm going to give you guys a huge link in the description box below of everything you need to know from the article and whatnot. And I tend to believe them, and I think it's very plausible what they have in store when it comes to the Nintendo Switch Plus, Pro, whatever. And I feel that that could be the reason why we didn't see anything Breath of the Wild 2 related up until now, or up until when we're promised. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, please share, like, favorite, and most importantly, subscribe to HMK for more Nintendo Switch and Zelda content. So until the announcement, or until the next video, this has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.